My fiance asked me to choose between her and my mom, and I chose my mom. My mom turned 60 this year, and she is not going to live 5 years longer. 12 years ago, she had a stroke that left her half-side paralyzed. She lives alone and takes care of herself completely by herself. She is very resilient, and I am incredibly proud of her, but I know that her chances of living another 5 years are very, very low. My fiance got surprisingly a promotion in the dream job she always wanted. Saying it's a gigantic opportunity would be saying that a Ferrari is just a car. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. It will change her life forever. It will fulfill everything she's wanted. It will make her rich. It also involves her moving countries, thousands of kilometers away. There is no way she won't accept it, and I wouldn't want her to. The moment she told me about it, I knew it was over. She asked me to come with her. I didn't even need to think about it and said no. It broke me apart, and it broke her apart, and I feel nothing and simultaneously just pain. My mother has 5 years left, at best, and she will die and just never be in my life again. For the rest of my existence until oblivion always swallows me up. I will never get to meet her again, hear her living voice again. She will be gone forever, just gone. The clock is ticking for her every day a bit louder, and I simply cannot move away from her and see her only once a year anymore. How could I accept that only seeing her 5 times before she stops existing? I cannot, period. This is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, but it wasn't a hard choice at all. I want to stab myself.
Put a finger down if you've ever been together with a man for 8 years and this man is the love of your life and he's also a professional hockey player, and so one day he gets a contract to go play hockey in Russia and it's for an insane amount of money, so we can't turn it down, and because you're supportive you say, yes babe, go to Russia, play in Russia. So he does, and things are going so well. He's playing amazing. You guys are talking every day. You're talking about rings and weddings because, mind you, you've been together for 8 years. And he says, I can't wait to see you at the end of February when I come home. And finally, the end of February rolls around and all of a sudden, he disappears. He just disappears. And you're freaking out naturally. You're saying, are you dead? Are you in the gulag? What's going on? And you text his parents and you text his friends and you say, what happened? Is he okay? And they say, what do you mean? He's just on vacation. He didn't tell you. So you text him and you say, what the fuck? You're on vacation? What happened? And finally you get a response back and it says, I'm sorry I'm not home yet. I will be home soon. This is not a good response or a drunk response. I will text you a good response tomorrow. And that is the last thing that you ever hear from him. This man you were together with for 8 years. This is the last thing you ever hear from him. And you know that he's alive and he's fine because he comes home and you see photos of him home. And you text him and you say, can we please talk? No response. You box up all of his belongings that you've accumulated over the past 8 years and you write him a letter saying, can I please get some closure? You send it off. No response. Eventually he goes back to Russia for the second season. And when he's there, about a month in, he posts a photo with a girl. And he doesn't tag the girl, and you don't know anything about the girl, but you happen to have 3 best friends who are FBI agents. And these girls go in and they figure out everything about this girl. They figure out who she is. They figure out what she does, and they figure out the timeline of their relationship. And they realize that he and this girl had been together for quite some time. They've been together for a long time, actually. In fact, so long that they were together when he was still talking to you and saying, we're going to get married. And so now you know there was philandering. Philandering was done. And the last thing I'll say is, put a finger down if today, November 3rd, 2023, this man posts a photo of this woman with a ring on her hand. This is a true story. It did not happen to me. It happened to my best friend of 20 years, a woman I have known for 20 years. This is not a novel. This really happened.
As long as I live, I will never forget the time a man tricked me into coming over by faking a party. I was like 14 at the time, so this was not recent. And this guy was a couple years older than me. Wish I could go back in time and slap myself across the face, but I can't. Me and this guy have been talking for like a couple months at this point, known each other for a while. But if this guy would have asked me to come over and hang out with him one-on-one, I would have said no, and I think he knew that. So instead of asking me on a date like a normal human being, he decides to text me one Friday morning and be like, hey, I'm having this party tonight. This girl and this girl and this girl that you know are gonna be there. Like, are you down to come? Obviously, I'm 14 at the time. I don't have a a car or a license. So I'm like begging my mom, please take me to this. All these people are gonna be there. I really want to go to this party. Like, can you drop me off? He had told me the party started at 4, so I was like, I'm gonna get there at like 4:45. So my mom drops me off. It's my first time ever going to this guy's house, and his mom answers the door. We're gonna call the guy Gage. She turns around and she says something along the lines of, Gage, your girlfriend's here. Gage runs up behind her, and I'm looking at him like, what the hell did you tell her? And she's like, you must be Jesse. It's so nice to meet you. I'm like, it's nice to meet you too. And Gage was like, oh, we're not dating, Mom. And his mom was kind of like, oh, okay. And then he was like, I'll be right back, Jess. Mom will show you inside. I'm just gonna go put on my swim trunks because it was a swim party. He always called me Jess too. That was another thing. I walk inside with his mom and I notice that no one is there. And this party was supposed to supposedly start 45 minutes ago. So I'm like, okay, that's really weird. He leaves me alone for like 20 minutes with his mom, who I had never met until this day. And she sits me down on the couch and starts showing me like baby pictures and all the pictures of Gage like growing up. And she's like, look at how cute he is. And I'm thinking, oh, what did I just get myself into? Finally, Gage comes back out. He's like, okay, you can go change in there and put on your swimsuit. Like, we're gonna swim. So I put on my swimsuit. I'm walking outside with him and I'm like, okay, so when is everyone else getting here, like for the party? And he was like, oh, the party, yeah. I think everyone's just like running really late. They're probably picking up food or something. I haven't really been hearing from anyone. It's kind of weird. And I'm like, bro. And I had told my mom to pick me up at 11 and we lived like 40 minutes away, so I didn't want to make her drive all the way out there. So I was basically stuck there until 11. I end up swimming with him and his brothers for like an hour, and his mom is outside like taking pictures of all of us. Just the whole thing was weird. And then he's like, come on, I'll come show you my room. So we go downstairs into the basement where his room is. We go in his room. He turns off the lights, shuts the curtain, and locks the door. This guy fakes a party to get me to come over to his house, locks me in his room with him, turns out all the lights. Keep in mind, I'm 14. This guy's a couple years older than me, and I did not sign up for this. I signed up for a party with people I know that were supposed to be there. And then he's like, so I literally turned around and went and opened the door, and I was like, can we leave the door open? W, Jesse. And he was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then I ended up sitting on his bed watching him play Fortnite for like 2 hours. And then he had 3 of his other guy friends come over. I swear it was literally after he realized he wasn't gonna get any action. So it was me and like 6 guys for the rest of the night. After that, I literally never hung out with him again. But the story does not end there, because I run into him at a graduation like a couple years later. He was like, oh my god, Jesse, like, it's so good to see you. How have you been? I'm like, good, how are you? Very awkward interaction. I wanted to die, but then I go home and he DMs me and he's like, hey, I would love to hang out again sometime if you want to come over again. Obviously, I said no. And then bro blocked me because he was mad. So I think the cherry on top of all this though is my best friend was trying to shit talk him to me after all this happened, and she accidentally sent it to him. I don't know how she did that, but he made a post about it on his story and he was like, when you think someone's your friend, even though he had never talked to her before ever. And that's the end of that story.
Am I the asshole for kicking out my sister after she tried to sleep with my husband? I, 33 male, am gay, and my husband, 39 male, is bisexual. My husband is what some would call conventionally attractive, and there's no denying he is good looking. My sister has had a thing for him ever since I introduced them. Something to add is that when our grandmother died, she left the house to me and my sister, but my sister sold her portion to me, and she has no claim to the house. Because she lived with her husband at the time, she had no need for it. My sister left her husband after he hit her while drunk, and I've been letting her live in our house as it's a 6-bed, 4-bath, and we are only 2 people. I was out the last few days as my best friend had his bachelor party. My husband called me at midnight saying that my sister just came in wearing lingerie and tried to seduce him in our bed, but he shoved her out and then called me. When I got home, I went straight to my sister and told her to pack her things and her son's belongings and get out. She tried to claim that it was my husband who came on to her, but I immediately didn't believe her and said she had until the next day to get out. She cried that she and her son would be homeless and that this isn't what family does. I just said family also doesn't try to shag their brother's husband and that she should have given that a thought beforehand. She then shifted to the whole divorce card and said she just wants to be close to someone again. I again said that didn't warrant or justify what she did and said she only had one day. Am I the asshole?
Am I the astronaut for breaking up with my girlfriend because she changed her looks to resemble my dead wife? I, 35 male, was married to Laura for 7 years. We have a son who is 10 now. She was the light of my life. When we were both 28, we found out she had a rare form of cancer. She passed away 5 months later. This crushed me, and I was left drowning in my grief for a long time afterward. My son and I have been attending therapy weekly ever since. It's been tough, but I feel like we've made a lot of progress. I didn't feel up to another relationship for a while. I filled my time with hobbies, friends, and spending time with my son and family. Then, a little over a year ago, I met Kayla, 33 female, at a work event. We share a hobby that's pretty niche where I live, so we had a great time chatting about it. Eventually, we began to go out together. She's great, but different from my wife. I love her for who she is as an individual. I was hesitant at first, but after speaking with my therapist, I decided to try for a committed relationship if we took it slow. At first, she was amazing. I told her about my past and that my son comes first, even before our first official date. She was very compassionate and understanding about everything. After a few months of smooth sailing, I decided to introduce her to my son, and they get along great as well. For the first time after Laura's death, I could start to see a possible future with someone else. Everything started to go downhill around 4 months ago. She seemed to be a bit more distant than usual, so I sat down with her one night to ask what was wrong. She teared up a bit and confessed that she felt that I had been neglecting her lately. She then said that she feels like I'm using her as some replacement for my dead wife. This came as a total shock. A part of me will always love Laura, but I didn't feel like I was ignoring Kayla or anything. I asked for some specific examples, but she didn't say much afterward. I felt guilty that I had made her upset, so I ended up apologizing and arranged for us to have a few more date nights, and she seemed happy again. Then a couple of weeks later, she had to go to a cousin's wedding. I couldn't attend because of work, but she was only gone for a day. When she got back, I asked for some pictures, but she just said there hadn't been any of her. I thought that was a bit strange, but I didn't pry. Then the next day, a coworker of mine showed me one off of a private page on Facebook. I was shocked to see an expensive pair of my wife's earrings on Kayla. In my son's room, there is a small cupboard with pictures of him and his mom, letters from her, and some of her prized jewelry. I checked it as soon as I came home, and the earrings were returned to the cupboard, but in a different spot. I confronted her, and she got mad, yelled at me for assuming that she'd been so careless as to lose or damage the earrings. I told her I was just hurt that she'd go behind my back and take something with sentimental value, even if they were beautiful. She eventually broke down and apologized. After a serious talk about boundaries, we moved on. Things improved for a while before her strange behavior started. Oh, it hasn't started yet. Okay. It began with her changing her hair color to match my wife's. My wife had naturally light blonde hair that a lot of women dye their hair to today, so while I thought it was strange, I wrote it off as a beauty choice. Then she began regularly straightening her hair. Her hair was wavy, and my wife's hair was pinned straight. She also started to change her clothes to be more like my wife's, or at least the ones she's seen in pictures. She also had her ears double pierced and got a cartilage piercing like my wife. This was all incredibly unnerving, but she just said that I was crazy. I'd ask my family, and they'd say I was nuts too, so I ignored it. Then she brought up having my son call her mama. I said I wasn't a huge fan of the idea, but if my son wanted it, I supposed it would be fine. She went on a whole rant about how it was different because he called my wife mommy, so it's not like she's stealing the title. He said no, and she was a bit cold to both of us for days. She seemed like a totally different woman than the one I fell in love with. Everyone around me just said I was probably nervous since it's my first relationship after Laura's death. The final straw was when she got a tattoo that was almost the exact same as my wife's. It was in the same spot, same color, just with a slightly different design. That was my final straw. I sat her down and confronted her a week ago about everything. At first she denied it all, but then broke down into tears and said I never loved her. She said she felt that she had to live up to the memory of a ghost. This upset me because I had asked her before what I did specifically, and she wouldn't discuss it. Plus, she was the one being weird and copying Laura. She kept sobbing and saying that I didn't love her. I got sick of it, so I yelled at her, saying that if she felt so unloved, we should just break up. I honestly do like her, but I've seen how miserable she has been lately, and I don't think this relationship is good for her mental health. She got dead silent and just left and drove away. I was just so tired of everything. Late that night, she tried to unalive herself with pills and barely survived. She has no living family, so I was listed as her emergency contact. She wrote a long letter to me saying she loves me so much, but obviously I don't feel the same, and that maybe if she was dead too, I'd love her even a fraction of how much I loved my dead wife. I'm distraught over this. She's been so strange lately, but before all of this, I really did love her. My mom and siblings kept saying that I'm awful for pushing her to this point, and that instead of ending it, I should have doubled down in reassuring my love for her. They've all got along great with her and had been hinting that they wanted us to get married so my son would have a mother again and possibly some siblings. I didn't think I was the asshole, but my family is being cold to me, and I have no idea what to do. They're saying that I should go visit as soon as possible and support her with this to rekindle our relationship. I'm not sure if I want to do that. She's so unhappy with me and seems obsessed over my dead wife. I keep on thinking about this over and over, wondering if I should have reassured her of my love again or broken up with her in a more tactful way. Am I the astronaut? I'm sorry this is so long. My brain is still scrambled from the whole thing, and I am rambling. Am I the astronaut for breaking up with my girlfriend because she changed her looks to resemble my dead wife?
Two of the most asked questions that I get on here are, is this a dude and are you trans? And I would like to put those rumors to rest. No, I have been female since birth. I absolutely love being a woman and I wouldn't change anything about it. However, I absolutely respect those that do identify as trans and that might sound like me but identify differently, obviously. But as a woman is how I identify and how I believe I will always identify. I have literally had people argue with me in the comments before. I rarely ever respond to comments about my voice because when I do, it always goes badly. But there was one time that this girl commented, she was basically answering comments asking if I was trans, and she was commenting, responding to all of them like, definitely, yes, she is. And this was obviously without even knowing me. I had no idea who this person was. It was just a random person on the internet. So I decided to respond to one of her comments. She had made like a singular comment and I responded to it saying like, hey, just want to let you know, I am female. I have been female since birth. And yeah, that's not going to change. And her response to me saying that was, I've taken a lot of trans or not quizzes. You're wrong. When I tell you my jaw was on the floor, like I have access to this special little button called the block button, and I rarely ever use it, but you, my friend, have just made the list. But that was funny though. I still laugh about that. And I told my boyfriend and his jaw was also on the floor, but it was honestly, it was hilarious. Another very popular question, why does your voice sound so deep? Puberty? I don't know. It is not by my own choice that I sound like this. Like, I can't change my voice unless I like cut my vocal cords. I don't even know how one would do that. But yeah, this is how I've sounded for as long as I can remember. Obviously, puberty enhances that, but that's normal for people. And yeah, this is normal to me. It's how I sound. And then my personal favorite that I don't think it will ever change. Are you using a voice changer? Come on. This does not sound that deep to me. This is normal to me. No, I am not using a voice changer. This is my normal voice. But anyways, all of that being said, I understand that it can be a little bit more difficult to tell nowadays, but I just wanted to put all those rumors to rest because I'm a woman, I've been female since birth, all of that jazz, you get it. But the other thing that I would like to note is that people saying that my deep voice has made them more confident about their voices, my favorite comments in the entire world. I love seeing those comments so much. It makes me feel so happy that my voice can make other people feel more confident about their voices, because I know like guys will give you unsolicited comments in real life all the time about how deep your voice is because they're intimidated. So my deep voice girlies, I get you. Okay, I have had guys keel over after hearing my voice because they're like, something ain't right. You're just insecure, your voice isn't as deep as mine, so that's your problem. But yeah, anyways, obviously I just wanted to share my response to all of those comments. I am not offended. Again, I'm not offended. Zero hate to anybody who commented those things. I would just like to put the rumors to rest.
Ready with me while I tell you the story time about the time I did a Ouija board. Oh my god, it's almost Halloween. And me and my 4 friends did a Ouija board and it was actually terrifying. So if you don't believe in them, bitch, I'm about to tell you something that maybe will make you believe in them. And if it still doesn't make you believe in them, I don't know what to tell you, because we were literally like 15. We were always trying to get into some bad shit. And we were always getting ourselves scared as hell. I'm gonna use real names for this story time specifically because I'm still cool with literally everyone in them, except for one girl. One girl will be named Amber. Okay, so growing up, me and all my friends used to go hang out at my friend Bailey's house because she had a basement and it was cool and we could smoke schmeat, could sneak out. Like, her parents were so cool. They always had the best snacks, and they also had a Ouija board. And we found this out like at 15, 16. And a couple of us were like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. But I honestly had no frontal lobe, and I had literally the feeling that I was invincible. So I was like, yeah, let's do the fucking Ouija board and let's really fuck with it. Let's really do it at 3 a.m. in the basement, which we already thought her house was haunted. Her sister would like wake up, her little sister, by the way. And you know when it's a kid being weird, you're like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna run away forever. Her little sister would wake up in the middle of the night and just cry in the bathroom in her sleep. Or like walk into the basement and just stand there and stare. Eleanor. So we were like, let's get this Ouija board out. And she had like this like lore about this Ouija board. I don't know if it was real or if her mom was trying to mess with us, but basically her mom said she like burned the Ouija board or like buried it and ended up back in the house somehow. I'm sure that her mom was just trying to mess with us, but it still was scary. So, oh my God. So many of us were like, okay, let's do this Ouija board and let's try to contact our dead family. And our friend Cece had a dad that had passed away pretty tragically as well. So she was kind of like, I want to talk to him. And I had wanted to talk to my sister's ex-husband that had passed away. We were like, let's contact these spirits. So we get on there and we say hi. Boop, boop. Hi. First, I'm like, okay, these bitches are fucking with me. This is not actually doing this. Like, I really did not believe it. Then we were all like, put your pinky fingers on it. Like, put your pinky fingers on it and let's talk to it. And we had been already talking to it for like an hour. It had said some things like, yes, I'm here. I love you. Some certain things that probably they couldn't know, but maybe one of the friends did. One of the friends were like messing with us, like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well then things got weird. And me and Bailey were like, let's do this by ourselves, me and you. We have a pact that we're not moving this together. Put our pinky fingers on here and stare at each other while we do this. And we did. Girl, what the fuck? Started asking it questions. We said like, are you real? And it was like, yes. And then we were like, okay, so are you a human? And they were like, yes. And we were like, how old are you? And it said like 8 years old. And we were like, oh my God, you're a baby. How did you die? And it was like, mommy drowned me in the tub. Okay, so what the fuck? And then we were like, spell your name. And it said Zaza. Okay, we Googled that. When you Google that, there are things like Zaza Zozo that are like really well known for, meaning put your fucking Ouija board away because there's like a demon. And again, I didn't really believe this. I was just kind of like, shut up. Shut up. We are alone in the house. We are 15. We start hearing upstairs. We're in the basement. We hear that. We're home alone. There's no one there besides her little sister that is asleep. So we go up there and we go look for her and she's sleeping. Start screaming. I call my mom. I'm like, we're coming home. We had lived right down the street from Bailey. Are screaming our lungs off. We have never been this scared in our entire life. So we start running to my house barefoot with her little sister in our arms. We get to my house and then our friend Amber goes, fuck you, Amber. I didn't really believe in any of it, so I just was banging my feet upstairs so that you guys would be scared. So that kind of was like the comedic relief, but all that other stuff actually happened. Like, we really heard Zaza. There was really some 8-year-old boy saying something crazy. Probably wasn't actually an 8-year-old boy, but I know Haley wasn't tricking me. We both had our pinkies on there. We were both looking at each other. We couldn't spell things without like looking. So that was scary. We did it again with our feet and we disrespected the spirits and it was even scarier. I'm not going to tell that story. It was scarier. It was weird and scary. Happy Halloween. Don't do a Ouija board. And if you do, don't.
My boyfriend's ex still used his credit card while him and I were dating. Boyfriend moved states and that's how we met through uni. Broke up with his past partner because they moved states or whatever. Him and I were friends for a couple of months. He was still like kind of closing off that last relationship and then we started dating. During the talking period and like the becoming friends period of me and my boyfriend, other stuff was happening with her that just like was not on, but I'm not going to dive into that. One night, I think we were dating like quite a few months at this point, and he's on his phone and he goes, did you get an Uber last night? I was like, no, because I hadn't. And he was like, that's really strange because there's an Uber charge on my card. Now at this point, I don't even have his credit card on my Uber. Like, I still don't. I make my own money. He makes his money. He doesn't need to support me. I was like, that's really strange. Like, maybe Uber like messed up or something. I can't remember how we pinpointed it was his ex. I think maybe he could see what state the Uber was in. Maybe he just remembered like she had his card connected, but like something struck him and it was like, oh my God, I think my ex is like using my card still on her Uber. And he looked through and there's actually like quite a few Uber charges. This was just like the one that we noticed. So I was a little bit like, really? Oh my God. It was just laughable because the other stuff that she had done was like actually kind of hurtful. But this, I was just like, girl, come on. He doesn't have enough money to support both of us. I love the hustle. I respect it. Get off. Like, what are you doing? I was like, look, I think you should just like change your card just in case. And if you want to like talk to her about it, like go ahead. But yeah, definitely change your card because if she's done it once, I feel like she might do it again. He messaged her like, hey, are you using my Uber? Kind of just to also let her know like, we're on to you. Like, stop doing that. And she admitted it. She was like, yeah, oh my God, sorry. Okay, whatever. At this point, I'm like, look, you're gonna have to change your credit card. And like, we went on to Netflix and like we logged out all the Netflix things because I'm pretty sure she used the Netflix still as well. The worst part is I'm pretty sure at this point she had a boyfriend too. So we were just like, what is going on? Like I said, this was ages ago. There's no bad blood. Something just made me think about it the other day and I thought it'd be funny to tell you guys. Be careful with your cards and your exes, everybody. Okay.
I'm gonna try not to cry as I tell you guys this, but I make no promises. I truly think that one of my callings in life was to be a big sister. To give you guys a little background and make a very long story short, my mom and my brother recently immigrated here from Haiti back in May. And of course, there's been a lot of adjustments going on over the past couple months, but one of them is that my brother recently started school. He just started sophomore year of high school. And of course, before school started, like the mother I am right now, I got him all his clothes, his school supplies, his shoes, gave him a little lecture just to, you know, focus on school and make good friends. He turned 16 on September 1st. I took him out for his birthday and it was his first time at an American restaurant. I got him a brand new iPhone, and just his reaction to every single one of those moments, you guys, made me bawl. Because tell me why. After they were singing him happy birthday, he was like, I was trying so hard not to cry because it was such a surreal moment for me. Like, for school, I'm on his parent portal, so the teachers will email me and the school will call me when anything has like happened. He's learning English, he's new to the States, so there's been a lot of adjusting happening. And I get all his grades, so you know, I've already had to do a little phone call of like, why is this grade so low? What's going on? Talk to somebody. Do you want me to call the school for you? Like, I can advocate for you. Like, we've had those phone calls. And then I've recently been trying to get him on a bus because I was like late to the application process, and I finally did it because I've like been calling the school, but he's missed the bus or has gotten on the wrong bus. Finally, yesterday we're on the phone and I'm like, your math teacher wants you to stay after school, blah, 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 and there's going to be a late bus that can take you home. And he's like, oh, like, I've been missing the bus. I'm like, what do you mean you've been missing the bus? What's your bus number? Where have you been stopping? Whatever. He shows me where he's been stopping. I'm like, babe, you've been going to the wrong bus stop. So I literally go on Google Maps, you guys. I screen record and I'm like, this is where you're supposed to go. FaceTime him, show him again. And I'm like, do you understand? Of course, he's like, yeah, okay, got it. But I was like, okay, like, just in case, call me tomorrow morning if you get confused. So I slept my ringer on, didn't put my phone do not disturb, just waiting for him to like call me just in case. But I got a text this morning and he's like, I made it on the bus. And I was just like, I can sleep peacefully. He's just truly like my not so baby boy. Like, I don't know, like, I feel so fulfilled helping him. About how I found out my boyfriend was cheating on me. I dated this guy in high school. It was like my sophomore year, I think. We were friends first before we started dating, so that's why I had a lot of trust in him. I went to an international school growing up, and we hosted like this sports event where a bunch of other international schools in Asia would come and travel over to our school. And when a bunch of kids from different schools mix together, like, sometimes there's a lot of romance that happens. And in this case, I heard from like one of my friends that the guy that I was seeing, he thought this girl was like really cute. But of course I was like, maybe he thought she was cute, but there's no way that it was like anything more serious than that, because again, I trusted him. But my friend was pretty insistent. She was like, no, like, he said she was cute and like, I think they might be texting. So when my friend said that, alarm bells kind of started ringing in my head, and I was getting a little bit anxious about the whole situation. So I confronted him and I asked him, I was like, hey, like, are you talking to this girl? And he was like, oh yeah, like, we're just like friends or whatever, like, we're just like casually texting. And I was like, I don't know if I believe that, but like, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. About a month goes by and like nothing's really happened, like nothing has developed. He started talking to his friends more about this girl, and I started to hear from like other people also telling me again that they're still talking, and they're talking like every single day. Recently, I also noticed that he was getting more busy. I'd be like, hey, you want to call? You want to, you know, chat, whatever? Never available. You know, things were not really adding up. So finally, I kind of got fed up. He wasn't giving me answers, so I went to go look for the answers myself. I found her on Instagram and I DM'd her and I was like, I don't want this to come off like weird, but I just wanted to ask you, like, are you and this guy like romantically talking to each other? She texted me back like almost immediately and was like, yeah, I am. And I won't lie, like, my heart like sunk. I literally felt it drop. But the girl that he was like cheating on me with, she was like a girl's girl through and through. So she suggests to hop on a Skype call, which is so funny. Like, why Skype? I don't know. We call each other and we're kind of just like comparing notes. We're like, okay, what did he say to you? Like, what did he say to you? And we realized that he's been basically telling us the exact same thing of like, oh, like, I really like you, like, there's no one else. Obviously, we're both really pissed off now, not at each other, but at the guy. We devised a little plan to try and like ambush him. I think it was me who set up the call, and I was like, hey, you want to call this time? After I set up the call, I was gonna add her in and see what his reaction was.
I called him and then I added her. As soon as he saw that we were both in the call together, he freaked out. He was like, what is going on? And I was like, you know exactly what was going on. Well, first of all, he was like, oh, I'm just gonna leave. And I was like, absolutely not. You better stay on the call. We were both like yelling at him, being like, what's wrong with you? Like, how could you do this? Like, honestly, just like letting him have it. Obviously, we both dumped the guy, never spoke to him after that. Not worth my time, and not worth her time either. The best part about the story is that I actually became friends with the girl afterwards, and we're actually still friends to this day. So I guess the moral of the story is that men suck, and that you should always trust your gut.